Beautiful, stunning and magical are words to describe this hilltop medieval historical village. Upon entering this village through the original gateway, the visitor is treated to a village virtually unchanged since the 16th century, with narrow granite paved streets and delightful granite houses with terracotta tiles. The homes and buildings are constructed out of the surrounding granite, and the village is almost at one with the hillside. Adapting beautifully with the landscape, rather than try and move the large granite boulders, the villagers built their hobbit-sized homes amongst them. They incorporated the rocks into the very fabric of their homes, adding a unique and magical charm, sometimes above, sometimes below, and sometimes even inside. The village origins date back to prehistory, when it was linked with pagan rituals. Animal pens and shelters carved out of the rock centuries ago, still used for storage, have an almost timeless quality. It's been described as the most Portuguese and picturesque village in Portugal, and also as the island in the sky. Dominating the village on a high craggy rock and visible for miles around, the formidable and impregnable stone fortress still dominates the village. The climb up to the fortress is steep and requires fitness, but should not be rushed, as the views from the path are simply breathtaking over the village and the valley below. We visited on a rainy day, which added an extra feeling of romanticism and mystique to the place. When we visited in July 2022, the number of other visitors was very low, perhaps a handful or so. However, in 2022, the fortress has been used as a location for the new Game of Thrones series House of Dragon. This may mean that it could prove more popular in future with location tourists, so one may wish to pick visit times to be at different times of year or times of day. Just below the fortress stands the roofless remains of a Romanesque church dating back to the 13th century. The approach to the fortress has classic defensive structures with sharp bends to hamper would-be attackers, and a huge, large granite flagstones mark the entryway to the gate tower. Upon entering the interior of the fortress, not so many of the buildings remain. The main attraction of the fortress are the steep steps leading up to the ramparts with breathtaking views across the open valley. And one is treated to panoramic views in all directions, for miles across Central Portugal. With such a dominating position, there is no wonder that it's never been taken by force or assault despite countless sieges due to its isolated location at the height of 758 meters. The Romans tried and failed, as the villagers tricked them by throwing a fat calf over the fortress walls to make them think they had stores full of food and yet would never yield. The momentous event is celebrated every year in spring, with young girls dressed in white who climb to the top of the castle and throw a calf made of roses and jars of flowers over the ramparts. This village and fortress is really magical and a beautiful place to visit if you're ever in Central Portugal.